Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. Are you evaluating your career in real estate? Feel like you're ready for a fresh start? Or ready to take your career to the next level? This is your podcast. Welcome back to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. I'm your host, Meredith Fogle, along with our guest once again, Tina Nader. Tina,
hello.
Thank you for being here again. Thank you for listening or watching today. So today what we're going to talk about is some success Tina has had with open houses and specifically converting buyer leads from open houses. And then the next piece of it, which has been a little bit trickier, which is bringing those buyers in for a formal buyer consultation. Tina, I've had a lot of interactions with clients lately, coaching clients of mine, who have a bit of a struggle with this whole concept of clarifying and proving their value as buyer's agents, especially as it relates to this new change in the way that commissions are handled. So it's really interesting to me that I've got this group of people, and it isn't just my clients, I hear this all the time from agents, who feel like it is wrong that the seller should not by default pay the buyer's agent compensation. And to me personally, it is an opportunity for buyer's agents to prove the value that they've had all along. And I think it is a little bit of a difference in process that can really be cured by an effective buyer consultation. Because when you think about it, there's the listing side, the listing agent has value, the listing agent is able to prove their value and command their fee. There's a buyer's agent who also has value and also should be able to command their fee. But in reality, what's happened, I think, over the course of many years is buyer's agents have kind of just become a key. So the issue becomes that they can't articulate their value, and therefore they end up defaulting to whatever the seller is paying. And in some of these instances, I see buyers taking like nothing for their fee because they can't substantiate their value. So all that to say, where this starts, I think, is that interaction initially with the buyer and then the consultation that happens afterwards, which creates a professional atmosphere and allows the buyer's agent to command their fee. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with you. And I think being upfront and letting them know what your value is, but it is also our job to negotiate that fee. So again, part of that goes with our negotiation, but the other part goes with, well, there is an expectation that we do receive a certain amount, and if all of it's not covered, then we revert back to the other person to try to get the rest of that covered.
The client.
But yeah, I think that's having a really frank conversation, because the majority of time we do get it covered.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue, but
we do, but other agents are really struggling with this.
Yeah, I can see why. I can see, it's something that you just want to, at the very beginning, let them know. This is our fee, and this is what it is, and why. I mean, this is the work we go into it. There is a lot of work. We all know this. I think just being open and honest with, this is the fee, and once they shop it around, I mean, that is the fee everywhere. Pretty much we're all charging around the same, so it's our job to negotiate.
And that's
right?
where I think I'm seeing a lot of difference these days.
Okay,
And it always,
tell me.
So the fee always is and always has been negotiable. So this idea that there was ever some kind of like industry standard, I mean, that's the reason we got into trouble in this industry in the first place, was people were saying, well, it's always kind of the same thing. Everybody charges this, which never should have been the case and never should be the case. Our fee is directly tied to our value, and the reason I think you're able to command the fee that you do and that we do as a company is because people do perceive that we bring a lot of value. They see the results we get for other people, and they can clearly see that by working with us, they're going to save money, they're going to save time, they're going to, most importantly, get the result that they've come to us to achieve. So getting that like basic piece of it in place is vastly important. And there are lots of ways to come at that, whether you have a team that you're part of and you can use your team's value to help articulate to the client, or whether you're really a great solo agent, or you're learning, you're hungry, you're new, and therefore you're gonna drive the result home because of your energy that you bring to it. There are lots of ways to get to it. But I think it's interesting that we are seeing a lot of difference right now. So amongst the people that I encounter, there are buyer's agents who are able to command very little because they just haven't figured out a way to articulate their value, or they feel very much at the mercy of the seller still, because the first thing they do is go and ask the seller, the listing agent, whether there's a fee being offered, and if there's not, they're like, I don't know what to do now, and they haven't been trained. So anyway, it really is. Yes, tell me.
Well, are they also asking their client what their expected net is?
That's a
Because
great question.
I
That's
feel
a great
like that's a
question.
really good
Yeah.
way to
Yeah.
segue into,
It is.
proving the value and,
It is.
what
Absolutely.
are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a place that we will get to, I think, when we talk about the whole consultation procedure. But you're right, it's all about the bottom line, either the net that the seller needs to achieve or the funds that the buyer has available to bring to the settlement table. Because if there's a gap between what the seller is offering, if they're offering anything, and your fee is with the buyer, it's got to come from somewhere, and that's usually from the buyer's funds for settlement. But yeah, knowing your numbers, that's vastly important. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But I want to go back to how you are proving your value first and foremost. Open houses here at the list. We have a lot of open houses available all the time. We do have a lot of the listings, so that is one of the things we bring to the team, and it's a service to the client, obviously, but also serves our agents because they're able to hold open houses almost anytime they want to, every weekend. And it's a great way to get our listings sold, but it's also a great way to find buyers who are ready and willing, and high intent. Unlike the online leads that a lot of, I think, teams offer, these are viable leads that are ready to go. So the first thing that we do at the open house, and we've been through this in other episodes, so make sure you go back and look at effective open house strategies in our past episodes. But one of the things that we do is we also look at how are we converting that person, if they're not the buyer for that listing that's being held open, to your buyer. And I think that's like where some masterful skill comes in, because again, so many times there is a feeling of rapport built at the open house, but for some reason between the time the open house ends and that next follow-up is made, the rapport seems to evaporate. The would-be client ghosts, never calls the agent back, doesn't answer any phone calls no matter how many times they call, text, email, and then lo and behold buys something with another agent. So I'm curious for you, Tina, you do a really good job of this. So you are great at building rapport with people and connecting with them at the open house. So first of all, what are the sort of secrets to your success in making that happen?
I think initially when they come to the open house, being on top of your game and, knowing everything about the property that you are showing, because that's also showing a level of skill and, being able to communicate and talk to somebody. And also the other thing is it's really having a connection, right? And kind of mimicking I feel like for me, in a few seconds, I can really connect with someone. I know that might sound a little weird, but I have been doing this a really long time. So I say seconds as in a conversation. So for me, like as soon as I get to talking to them and, maybe it's something just relatable or about the current house. First we talk about the current house and I let them know what's there to look at. Then they go take a look at it, right? And then when they come back down, this is where it really begins. As soon as they come down, I'm gonna follow up with them and ask them some questions. I'm gonna ask them, so do you see yourself living here? What do you think about the house? Or maybe it was, something really special about the house that it had, a loft space that was done to the nines. What do you think about the loft space? So I'm just getting them to talk right now. I'm trying to see, where their mindset is with everything. And basically ask some more questions, and then I'll answer their questions at that time as well. So obviously first we want to see if it's a fit for that current house. But if it's not, one of the things I do ask is, how long have you been looking, and what have you been looking for? Like, if you had your dream house, what would it be? And I let them know. Oftentimes I know about listings before they even hit the market. I'm an expert matchmaker, and I can help you with that. And this all ties into the timing and really showing the value. And for me, I find like, I really go for it. I know a lot of people are probably afraid to do it, but if you try it maybe and see how it goes, maybe you can continue to try and then see what your successes are. Because for me, I will really go in for it and ask, can I help you? How can I help you? I can help you. I mean, I'm not even asking, I'm telling them that I can help you find the home you want. And I know about certain other homes that are coming on the market. So I'd love to set up a time in the office to meet with you and just go over some details about what you're looking for, your timeline, and we'll go from there. And that it doesn't end there, because it's really important that you follow up the same day, guys.
Let me pause you for a second, because I want to go back before we go too far this direction.
Okay.
I do want to go here, but I want to just go into one thing that you said. For the person listening or watching who heard you say, kind of go for it, and that you're really good at just making kind of an instant connection with people. So I want to first of all point out something that Tina did. We did a co-hosted open house, one of our mega open house Fridays, where we always get a lot of people in, and we did in this open house. And so we were sort of tag teaming with people. And I watched you do this over and over again, where people came in and you did make that instant connection with people. So I want to, including speaking a whole different language to someone who came in. So I want to ask you about that. But I also want to ask you about what is it that you look for? So, or let me rephrase it this way. If the person who is listening or watching right now is like, that's not really me, or I'm too shy, or I'm awkward, or I don't feel like I have the communication skills to make that kind of a connection, what are the tips you would give them to try to like break that ice quickly and make a connection with somebody when someone comes into a kind of a cold setting like an open house?
I mean, you can approach it as like the whole doctor patient thing, even with you're there to assist someone with something. You are the expert in what you do. So who better to help them? So you can go about it as, finding out exactly what they're looking for and being able to deliver it. So if it's hard to connect, at the beginning for you, some of the things that I generally do is maybe look for something that's a common, something that we have in common, or maybe they have a child, if it's hard for you to talk about something that relates, that you can talk about how amazing, the bedroom upstairs could be, for that room. I mean, you just want to talk about what would benefit them. So you don't have to necessarily make that immediate connection if it's hard for you, but I think what's important is to find out what they're looking for and then be able to deliver it, For me, I don't know, it's just very natural, so I really love it. Like, this isn't a job for me. A lot of times I love doing open houses. I mean, I do it almost every weekend. I either help Meredith or it's my own. I generally just love meeting people and hearing their backstory and knowing about what's going on. And honestly, I love our neighborhood. So I'm not just selling myself, I'm talking about the neighborhood. So that to me is something to really easily connect. If you know a lot about the neighborhood that you're selling, you can, that's a great way to start up a conversation. And I can't tell you how many times, you wouldn't believe it, after an open house, I've actually walked someone around to the clubhouse, to the park. I literally will go show them why I love living here and why you should live here. And it works.
So if you're in an open house, first of all, I heard a couple things. One is I want to talk to this piece about knowing the house. That's so important, and knowing the neighborhood too, especially if it's a neighborhood, because a lot of you guys listening and watching, you might not live in the neighborhood that you're holding the open house. Find out as much as you can about the neighborhood, do your homework, do your research, so you can be the knowledge broker. And when you're asked a question, you have the answer. But remember, it's not always a bad thing not to have the answer, because it gives you something to follow up about afterwards. The other thing is to find that kind of piece of connection. Like you said, you can to point out something that is a commonality or interesting about the person who comes in, but you don't have to do that. If that's not your strong point, like it is Tina's, you can wait for the person to tour and then use those questions that Tina just talked about as a reminder. Those are what we call the LMA questions. Location, is this a neighborhood that you're looking in specifically, or is this the general area that you're hoping to find a home in, or where do you live now? Those are location questions. Motivation, why is now the time for you to make a move? What's your time frame for making a move? What is bringing about the idea of a move for you? And then A is agent or appointment. So if they have an agent, you're making sure you get the agent's information. Otherwise, you are then setting it up for the appointment. We're going to talk about that in a second. Did you know that 63% of sellers and buyers choose their agent based on local proximity? That's why farming or geo-farming is such a proven method for long-term success in real estate. If you've been considering becoming a farmer or a geo-farmer in your market, but not sure how to get started, check out Farming for Real Estate Agents. This blueprint will walk you through exactly how to choose a geo-farm area, how to figure out by running some calculations whether the farm area that you're selecting can support your goals, and will help you track your return on investment. You'll also hear from locally famous farmers who have already dominated their market shares, so you can R&D their secrets and dominate the area that you choose to geofarm. But I want to ask you, Tina, for the person who came in that you started speaking another language with, how did you know that they spoke a different language?
Again, I was in hospitality for almost 20 years, so I can pick up a lot from people, or even dialect or a phone call, but I just know. I just knew immediately that she spoke a different language that I also speak. And I greeted her with that, and she loved it.
Yeah, they were having a whole different conversation. But exactly, and that's the kind of thing that when you build that bond, you get the trust feeling going. And the other thing that you pointed out is that piece about, I often know what's coming on the open market before it hits the open market, or coming on the market before it hits the open market. That's the thing that the buyer wants that they don't have. The buyer coming in, they were hoping probably that this was going to be a house that they would fall in love with. They came in, maybe it turned out not to be the right house for them. They might feel a little disappointed. They might feel a little desperate because inventory still is very low, regardless of on-market days in most areas of the country. So you have something they want. Now, just because you have something they want doesn't mean they're going to trust you to get it for them. So that's where the other piece comes in, and when you build that rapport and connection and show that you are knowledgeable, then the two pieces coincide and you've got somebody who becomes a future client for you. Mm-hmm. So the piece that you talked about moving forward was then moving them once, because you do a great job. Now you're going to know how to build connection during the open house. You're building that rapport, the exit conversation, using the LMA questions, making sure you get a little bit of information. Now here's my caution. Don't go all the way down the road with the buyer, meaning don't say, well, how many bedrooms do you need? How many bathrooms do you need? What's your price range? All the little details that you save for the buyer consultation for two reasons. One, you're not there to do that at the open house. You're there to sell that house. Two is the place for that is to gather all the information is during an in-depth conversation with the buyer. They didn't come for you to extract that information. So you're taking it out of context at that place, which is why it's important to schedule the follow-up appointment for a buyer consultation. So we want to talk about that. And Tina, I want to ask you, so I heard you say, I would love to set up an appointment in the office to go over, here's my one little tweak on that. We want to use the presumptive close, because remember, people don't care what we love. Just because we say, I would love to set up an appointment, I'd be like, well, what's in it for me, right? So what I would say then is, now that you've established trust and that you have something that they want, go straight to the next step is, now that I know that, the next step is, and you can ask, would it be useful for you to know about inventory that is not in the MLS? Or you can ask them, how have you been looking for houses? And they might say Zillow. And then you can use that great one-liner, which is, do you want to see all the houses or just the ones on Zillow? And people will look at you like stunned for a second. They'll go, and you just let them be silent. And you say, oh yeah, because only the houses that are in the MLS end up on Zillow, and probably 20% of what we sell never hits the MLS. So they now know you have something that they want. Then you build that bridge for them to get it, which is the buyer consultation. Okay, so it would be useful for you to know about all the houses coming onto the market. Great. So that means, in that case, the next step is for us to meet in the office so I can find out more about exactly what you're looking for, your goals, and to match make you with the home of your dreams. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the other piece is, with the buyer consultation, and here's where I'm gonna walk you through what the evolution is with what Tina's been dealing with. So Tina started with a process that wasn't really a process, right? It was more like there was a challenge getting them consultation started, and then get scheduled rather, and then it was kind of like an on the fly. I remember you talking about doing one on a park bench, doing one in a house, and we kept saying, what do we keep saying to you when you were doing this?
Yeah, that's not the way to do it, because you really need to sit down with someone in the office and find out more information in that kind of a setting versus on the fly.
Yeah, and one reason for that is going back to like the doctor consultation. Like if you're with the doctor and you're like, oh, my wrist kind of hurts. If he's like, oh, let's sit down on the park bench and let me take a look at the wrist for you. No, a professional doctor's like, schedule a time, come into my office. I'll be able to take a good look at it. If we have to do an x-ray, we can do an x-ray. That's the kind of service you want to provide, and that's what creates the image of professionalism and the perception of the service and value you provide in the eyes of the buyer. When you skip that step, you are skipping professionalism, and everything else becomes more difficult. They're not going to listen to your advice. You're not going to be able to defend your fee. It gets a whole lot harder. So what was it that made you take the leap from doing it kind of like on the fly to doing it in the office?
I've done it in the office before, and I've done it on the fly, and I can tell you on the fly is going to end up taking a lot more of your time showing homes that are not the right fit.
Oh,
so
good.
That is, I don't want to waste their time or mine. So I did learn that really quickly, because I could ask more questions. But I will tell you what I do and say now is I will get them to come to the office for the buyer consult, but I let them know, meet me in the office. We're gonna, find a little bit more details on what you're looking for, blah, 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 blah. And then I say, and then after, I'll take you to those houses.
Yes.
So this is not two separate appointments,
Right, right,
you want to let them know that we are going to go see those houses, but let's just meet so I can make sure that I know exactly what to show you, so I don't waste your time. But I think I was listening to you really well, and I understand exactly what's important to you, and I repeat that, whether it's in a text conversation. After our conversation, I know that 5 bedrooms, or I don't know, square footage is the most important thing, or parking, whatever it was. It's really important that you listen and you tune into those key things, because they're going to tell you, I want this, this, and this, or I don't want. And the don't want is a big bell for me. I'm like, okay, do not show them that. And then, go ahead and do your research so you know ahead of time what to show them, and you can have it pulled up on your computer. And then when they come here, again, you want to review everything that's been discussed and just see if anything's changed. And sometimes, as you know, like maybe one person came in to the open house and now there's 2. We want to make sure we ask that person the same questions as well, so we get their feedback on what's important to them and see if they agree. Because it could be 2 different things, or it might be the same, but it's important that everyone felt heard. I think it's so important. And then when I do show them the home, I'm pointing out to them exactly what they asked me for. So I don't just go and say, oh, go look around. No, I'm saying, this is 4 bedrooms. You mentioned you wanted this 2-car garage. Let me show you the space. Your car will fit great because there's only 1 bay. It's not divided in 2. And I know you have a sport utility, so that'll be perfect. So I think that's really important. I hope that helps you guys.
Yes, that's great. And I think it's very helpful to hear how you do it and why you do it. And I think exactly right. You want to have it as much as you can, the ability to go show houses right after that initial, because again, that's like delivering the value right on the spot, especially if you can get something set up that isn't on the market. I know you're doing that today. You're showing something that's not on the market that we have as an exclusive listing today, so that you can match make buyers with the right house. One of the things too, I think, is using tools that your office provides. And if you don't have a team or an office that provides this for you, you can DM us, we can share with you what we have, but having some support pieces in place that again help to articulate and enhance your professionalism. One of those things is a buyer consultation booklet. So we have one that is, goes through all of the pieces of the experience and helps the buyer understand how we're going to assist them, walks them through the process, and helps them really understand the value that we're bringing. And 2 is a buyer consultation form. And the form is meant, again, to really extract the information that you need so that when you go out into the field and you see the house that works for them, you know immediately that that's the right house. And if you've got the wants versus needs list, you use the form effectively and have that done, and the person is looking and you think you're showing them the right things, but they're not taking action, you can go back to the drawing board, revisit the wants and needs list, and figure out where things might have gone off track. When you are having that initial consultation with people in the office, the other thing is, I don't want to scare people, it's a safety measure, right? So somebody who is going to murder you is probably not going to come into the office and get caught on camera and touch a bunch of things and leave their fingerprints on it. So that's another reason. Make sure that you guys are protecting yourselves out in the field. Weird things happen. We don't want them to happen to you. All right, so let's talk for another minute now about how you are able to, during that consultation process, start to help the buyer envision and understand your value. What else are you doing?
Sure. If I may say one more thing,
please.
I want to tell you. So before an open house, I literally do this. I really go either to my husband or to the mirror, and I'm like, today is the day that I book a client from this open house. I'm not coming back home without a booking. I literally say this and it works every time.
Great affirmation.
It really is. I put it out there and I'm like, I'm going in with everything and making sure this happens.
Nice.
I'm giving it my all, from giving the best, open house for everybody to the best follow-up, because I'm really good with following up too when it comes to open houses. And I think that's what is going to make you stand out compared to other realtors. I feel like they're obviously going to a bunch of houses, right? They're going to be meeting with like at least a couple other realtors that same day. How are you going to stand out?
Yeah.
And I also sometimes even touch base on like mortgages or loans, and then I can, make a connection for them via text as well and introduce them to somebody. So I always try to go the extra step and let them know I'm here to help. But my point being, remember, try to set yourself apart and be the one that they want to come to, because you have the knowledge and the expertise and you're getting back to them. Show your value that way, and let them know that you have other homes that you think would be a great fit that are not, on the market. And another thing that you could do is tell a story about something or someone that you've done this before for, and how the result was so amazing. I actually met a client the other day at an open house, and it actually sold while they were in the open house. And so coincidentally, I had something similar. This is actually a true story. I had something similar, and I said, this house actually just sold. I'm so sorry. We had it it went under contract momentarily, but I've got something else for you that I'd love to show you. And I got their information, everything, showed the benefit, and that became my client, literally.
Yeah. It's a great example. Okay, so I want to end with one more thing. We're almost at time here, but quickly. Another thing I see happen all the time is you have this great rapport, you meet with the person in the office, you get their information, you take them out, you show them some things, and then nothing else comes on the market and you can't find them anything else to show them. And a lot of time starts to go under the bridge, and as that time starts to diminish that you have contacted them, another agent is sending them the things. Because remember, the average client is in 6 agents' databases. So you're not the only person reaching out to this person. They've met other people at open houses too. Whether or not you have a signed buyer agency agreement, they're still getting information from other agents who have no idea that you have a signed buyer agency agreement with them. So as soon as that other agent, you have enough estrangement between you, and that other agent slides a listing in front of them, that's like, I gotta go see that. If there's enough time that's gone between your communication with that buyer And when they get that information, they may say, yeah, I'll go see it. And then you get left by the wayside. So how are you, Tina, ensuring that if there's nothing on the market to show a buyer, you're staying in close connection with them?
Okay, so first of all, I do let them know what I'm doing for them in the interim. I think that's really important.
Yes.
I'm not a person who just sits back, obviously you can probably tell, and just waits for things to come on the market.
Yeah.
I call other realtors, I let them know what I'm looking for, I ask them, what do you have coming up? I also work with my team to see what's coming up, but I also pick up the phone and call around the neighborhood, which is what I was just doing.
And door knock?
I door knocked this morning. I literally did. Again, I looked for a couple houses in the neighborhood that I knew my client would go crazy for if they were for sale, and I door knocked. Nobody was there, unfortunately, this morning, but I'll try again. But one of the main things to do is get them on your bright list. Everybody else.
Or MLS.
MLS. Where it sends them auto updates, or you personally can send them through concierge mode things that you think would be a great fit for them.
Much better to do it that way.
You know,
I love that you do that. Yeah.
I think it's really great, but I always keep in touch because mine is like a random text of, hey, I know you were mentioning that you like sushi the other day. Just want to give you a recommendation for so-and-so place.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out that and order this. I can't tell you how many people are like, oh my God, you're the best. Thank you so much. I love it. Or, whatever it is, I'm always keeping myself still talking to them.
That's the most important piece.
Communicating. Maybe it's not about the house all the time, but about different things. And then I do let them know, well, I am, writing some letters, or I'm doing this. I keep them posted on what's coming and what's going on. And they know that, again, I'll update them when I do have something.
Yes. Beautiful. So that's exactly what you're hearing from Tina, is exactly what you need to do. Keep them close to you. I would recommend having some kind of a structured weekly check-in, just like you do as a listing agent, I hope, at least with sellers, where you've got a weekly report going to them. Same kind of a thing, giving them a little synopsis of all the things that you have done for them, so they understand that you're out there proactively looking. So when that other agent slips in with a listing, they're like, oh, well, we need to take this to Tina. Oh, she's been doing so much work for us. They would never even think twice about coming back to you to show that house. Beautiful. Love that. So all the things Tina's given you, plug those things into what you guys are doing, and you're going to just turn your business up to the next level. Tina, thank you so much for everything you shared. Congrats on your successes again. And if you have any questions for me or for Tina, please feel free to reach out. You can comment, you can DM, you can check us out on social media. And as always, please leave a review or rating on the platform on which you are listening or watching. We would be so very grateful. And if you are watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. We would love to see you again. That way you will get a notification about when our next show comes out. Tina, we can't wait to hear for next time. So she's on the hunt right now for a buyer looking for something very specific, which is why she's door knocking. So we will see how that goes. We'll fill you in on successes next time. Thank you for joining us. This has been So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.